The Playlist.
Back again kwenye show la Kibabe The Playlist. Still running this one. Mimi the MVP, half man, half amazing. Lil Omi nipo na Army Girl. Na tumekuambia leo tutakuwa napiga mastori kibao na balozi wa UN pamoja na mwandishi wa habari Forbes Africa Ancillar Mangena kutokea South Africa. So kuna vitu vingi kama vijana bidi tusikie kutoka kwake and stuff like that kuhusiana na Forbes Africa pamoja na mambo mengi ya UN and stuff like that. Ancillar, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay, I'm fine. Feels good to see you.
Same here. I'm so happy. I'm happy to be in your country. It's a beautiful country. The people are amazing. Always smiling.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for treating me well.
You're welcome. Is it your first time?
It is. It
is.
Yeah.
How do you find it?
I find it very different. People are very nice. And everyone is like always smiling and always willing to help. Nobody is just saying, no, what? Figure your own life on your own. So that spirit in my language, we call Ubuntu. Ubuntu. So I've got a spirit of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is humanity and
I like that.
The culture of peopleness and togetherness.
I like that. How do you find the weather?
It's humid, which I'm not a big fan of because it's a little hot, but it's good.
Oh yeah.
Everything else makes up for the weather.
Oh yeah. And the food?
I haven't tried any.
Oh yeah.
My
Why?
hosts.
How long have you been here though?
Since Tuesday.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's quite a while though.
It has been. My hosts are busy feeding me stuff that I already know. What do you think I should try? What kind of cuisine is
ugali, zege.
Ugali.
You should try that. Yeah.
What's ugali?
It's like how do you call it? I don't know how do you call it in South Africa, but it's like a stiff porridge, something like that.
It's like pap. Is it made out of corn? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you haven't tried that yet?
No, not yet.
You should try that.
I can't wait. Judith?
Yeah. Anyways, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, my name is Ancillar Mangena, recently Nombeu. I'm a journalist and that's my purpose. I was born to tell stories. I absolutely love telling, especially African stories, telling of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship around the country.
Since you were 12?
Since I was 12, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Since I was 12, so it's a bit of a sad story though, how I found my purpose. It was my birthday. I'm a 9/11 baby.
Oh yeah.
And this was 2001, and you know about the falling of the Twin Towers. I remember that day because it was my birthday. I was so excited. I wanted a bicycle, so I went home charging, so happy from school, thinking that I'm gonna get a bike, only to find my mom sitting on the couch, very shocked, concentrating so hard on the television. And I discovered that the Twin Towers had tragically fallen because of terrorism. And I remember spending hours until the next day pretending to be a journalist in New York. I would hold a Coca-Cola bottle and say, Ancillar Mangena reporting live from Washington DC, Ancillar Mangena reporting from New York City. So I got like this unexplainable vibe and feeling of that I found.
It just came out of the blue?
I don't know if it's out of the blue or it was just as Oprah would call it, my aha moment. Where I got to find who I am and what it is that I'm
along
supposed
the way
to be doing. It was just that one day.
Oh yeah.
Just that one day. A week later, I conducted my first interview of a street kid in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, and that was the first interview.
With the Coca-Cola bottle again?
No. This time not. Yeah, so that's how I got to know that I'm meant to do this, because I always say that the best thing that you can ever do in your life is to find what your purpose is, because when you know that, not only won't you struggle at all, you'll never look for a job. I've never looked for a job. I've never applied for a job. I don't know.
So people are looking out for you?
Because I'm living in purpose, right? Not because of luck, or I'm living in purpose. So if you're walking and living in purpose, your purpose finds you, and the opportunities that you're supposed to have in your space find you because you're living in purpose.
So what you're telling me, like for the UN and for the Forbes Africa, they looked out for you?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So with Forbes Africa, so just after graduating from the University of Johannesburg, I got a classmate of mine by the name of Nicholas Zal, got a job at a community newspaper. So I don't know if you guys have community newspapers here. So
We
have those papers that are free. They just get dropped off on your doorstep every single week. So he got a job at a Caxton community newspapers, and they needed another journalist. And he's like, oh, there's a girl in my class, and I know she's pursuing her master's, but you should hire her. And then when I went in, they're like, no, if Nicholas says you're great, we don't need to interview you. The job is yours. I'm like, okay, great. I took the job, and I must say, I was the best pothole writer ever. I told stories that people find boring, that people never read. You know, community papers, when you're moving, they're the newspapers you use to cover your glasses so they don't break. You know, you put your fish on to remove the oil if you're making fries. So even though I worked there, I knew that I'm there for a reason and I need to do my best. I did such an incredible job that the founding editor of Forbes Africa saw my work in a community newspaper.
Wow.
And he rang me up and said, come for coffee. And I didn't know it was an interview. When I got there, we just had a conversation. He asked me about myself, my journey, etc. And when we went upstairs, we got to the HR department, and then he said to Sue Gowden, who is the head of HR, please give Ancillar an offer that she cannot refuse. And that's how I got the job. So again, not luck, not anything, living in purpose and doing your freaking best wherever you are. If you clean windows, be the best window cleaner that the world has ever seen, because you're there for a reason, and it's there to teach you something, and your opportunity will come from that.
I like that. So what exactly are you doing for Forbes Africa?
So right now, I'm now a contributor. I'm no longer full-time there because I'm doing so many things. So I needed time and legroom to come to Tanzania, for example, and do this kind of things. So I tell stories about entrepreneurs. So it's business and finance. Right now, I'm telling more of the newsy kind of stories about the economy, etc. in the continent. I have edited the Forbes Africa Under 30 list for 3 years in a row. I'm the person behind it. I find those entrepreneurs and write about them and talk about them and etc. So I've enjoyed the 3 years that I've done the list for, and we'll see. That's what I do for them.
You've done the list for Forbes Under 30, yeah?
Yep.
Can you share a little bit, how do you guys come up with such list?
So basically, I always say people who are under 30s are the billionaires of tomorrow. So I'm not just looking for somebody who's famous or somebody who's making money. I'm looking for somebody who has the qualities to become a billionaire.
And what are those qualities, if you can share?
Awesome. So we do a lot of vetting. So we ask people to send in nominations. We also find our own people outside the nominations. And then I do extensive vetting and talking to people who know them, people who've worked with them, people who are their friends. All of this undercover without the applicant or the possible under 30 list maker knowing. And we do all of this vetting to get to know more about them, because it's business. We look at their financials, their credentials. I see how much they're paying people, because you get to see a lot about a person's ethics, even in the way in which they treat their staff members. If you're making huge amounts of profit, for example, and you're paying your workers who are making those profits possible for you, and they're paying them peanuts, for me, that's a problem. So I'm looking for people who've got that zeal. And back to purpose, there's some people who are just born to do certain things. So if they've found themselves in that entrepreneurship space, we will look for those kind of people that will one day write Forbes Africa covers about.
And sometimes I can say most of the times we don't see the African musicians on the Forbes list. Unlike the United States, they can come up with a list of the most highest paid artists, hip-hop figures and stuff like that. How is that?
So I did one list about 2016, which was about the top 10 most influential entertainers. However, last year we included the creative part of the list. So the list now has last year had three categories: business, technology, and creative. In this creative list, that's where you found your entertainers, that's where you found your story writers, your actors, your people who make stuff with their hands, sculptors, people who are into pottery, dressmakers, fashion designers, and those kind of people who are in the creative space. We included them in that list. So we are growing into that.
So how is it working?
It's good. With entertainers, of course, you always have people questioning, why is this person? Why is that person?
Oh, yeah.
So I always say everyone that during my time that I've put on that list, I can take a bullet for, I can stand for them. Nobody can question because I'll have an answer. I know for sure why I saw them worthy to be part of it. And if that person continues in that great trajectory that they were on when we put them on the list, they have a huge potential to be billionaires. I mean, look at the Tanzanians that we've had on the list who are doing incredible well. We've got people who are growing every single day. Their profits are growing. They're representing now not only Tanzania but the continent very well.
Yeah. And what do you do for United Nations?
Yeah, so I'm very, very glad to be part of this organization. I'm their UN Refugee Agency Ambassador. So I work a lot with refugees, trying to change the narrative of the African refugee. I actually just before I came here, I was doing relief work for the cyclone. There was Cyclone Idai that hit terribly, the biggest tragedy that we've seen in Southern Africa. It hit Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe, and over 700 people have died. I met thousands of people who don't have homes, who are now displaced, and they're internally displaced. So I do work like that, trying to not only raise funds for refugees, even the internally displaced, but trying to change the narrative, because it's a bad thing. For example, if you come to South Africa, you'll hear local people say, oh, kwere, and then there's like xenophobia and like, oh, there's people from Africa, and there's that like belittling thing that happens. So I try and change those narratives, that if you see somebody from the DRC, before you say go back to where you're coming from, just first and try and understand who they are and why they're in your country, because most of those people flee home because they would actually die. So imagine, tell me if I'm getting too lengthy. So I want to tell you a bit of a story. Imagine us in this room right now, right? You don't know where your mother is, where your husband, your friends, your children, your brothers, your sisters. We're just here in this room. Imagine if armed men barged into this room right now with guns, and you just hear all of us here scream, run, run, and you just have to start running. And then you get to the nearest border, I don't know, maybe Kenya, maybe you find yourself in Kenya, you have to walk, by the way, all the way to Kenya. And then when you get there, you are no longer who you are, you're now just a number, because that's what you get reduced to. You don't have your qualifications to show what you do, you don't have any relative, there's nothing that we can use to identify you, because you just had to run. And you're all alone. Everyone you know and love, you don't know whether they're alive or they're dead. That's how people become refugees. So we need to empathize with people in our countries, people that we're hosting, because they need us, and they are brothers and sisters. It can happen to anyone. So next time you see a foreigner, before you start judging, try and empathize and understand their story, understand who they are, what they're about.
I like that.
Seems like you and DC JOKATE Mwegelo been supporting each other. Where did you two meet?
Yeah, so JOKATE was first introduced to me by my brother Tongai a couple of years ago, and he's super smart. You know those super smart nerdy people, he never mingles with people who are not going to amount to something. So I always know that if he introduces me to somebody, it's somebody that I'm certainly supposed to know. So he introduced us, and then I got to speak with her. I absolutely loved where her mindset is, where she wants to solve everything that she does comes from a good place, and it's her trying to make the world a better place. So I got to meet her like that, and through knowing her, she was one of the under 30s. I saw that she way more than deserved to be part of it. I remember she actually turned 30 that week, when or something like that, a few days before, and she just made it. And I thank God that she did, because the world is not ready for what she is going to become. And I promise you, I really think that she can become president of this country.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I like that. I like that. So powerful.
If she wants to, it's up to her. If she wants to, she will. And I think that if she does want to do it, she's going to be the first person who changes because of my understanding of Tanzania, you know, it's most likely not going to happen to have a female president because, you know, female and, you know, the stigma and stuff around women in leadership. And I think she's going to break those barriers and break that glass ceiling. And she is going to be the first president of this country.
Oh yeah.
Inshallah.
You don't think so?
I think so.
I think she has all the qualities. Also, you know, there's people who are just famous and there's people who are naturally loved. I see how people just naturally gravitate towards her. She has that natural charm and charisma about her that will make people vote for her.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. If there's anything you want to share, yeah.
Yeah, so tomorrow, talking about JOKATE, she's got the charity gala again. It showcases how she cares about the community that she wants to give back like that. So I'm looking forward to be there at the Kisarawe Awards, charity awards. She taught me a word this afternoon. Token zero.
Tokomeza
zero. Tokomeza zero Kisarawe. So I'm excited about that. Education for girls is one thing that we need the most to empower ourselves, and I feel like the time for men is done. It's our time now, to rule. So let's educate our girls. Let's take over industries. Let's run boardrooms because we are great leaders.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. It was nice having you.
Thank you so much.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Anytime. Guys, tumepiga mastori mengi sana na Ancillar Mangena. Huyu ni mwandishi wa habari Forbes Africa, lakini pia ni balozi wa UN. Kakueleza mambo mengi sana, jinsi ambavyo listi za Forbes za wale watu wenye mkwanja mrefu zinavyopatikana. Anamtabiria mheshimiwa mkuu wa wilaya ya Kisarawe JOKATE Mwegelo kuja kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania baadaye, na ameelezea pia yeye nafasi yake ya kuwa kama balozi wa UN pamoja na mambo mengi sana ambayo amekuwa akiyafanya katika Forbes Africa. So vitu vingi zaidi utaendelea kuona vipata kupitia the playlist Times FM and stuff like that. So guys, stick around, they are not gone nowhere. Still running this one. Mimi the MVP, half man, half amazing. Lil Omi nipo na Army Girl. Tunarudi na Omi Dimples. You already know.
The playlist.